Hey everyone, welcome back to our coverage of House of Villains Season 2. We are back to recap Episode 7. We've got a new supervillain of the week. We've got 3 people on the hit list, and I'm very excited to break it down. As always, joined to the by the plasma to my blood. I don't know, Mr.
Yeah,
Chappell. Are you
yeah.
the plasma to my blood? And I'm like the blood to your plasma as well, or something? I don't
I'm
know.
I'm pretty sure. We're both each other's blood and plasma at this point. We're
Yeah.
keeping each other alive. I don't know if that's how blood and plasma works.
I don't know either. I need a scientist. Liana.
I need a scientist. I need anything, anybody
Any
else. Yeah, this is not our field of expertise. Our field is these villains. Okay,
Yes.
we are experts in these villains, and I'm very excited to talk to you about them this week.
Yes. Very fun episode. You know, we've got lots going on here. And our new supervillain of the week. It's Kandy Muse.
Yes, and isn't this the best case scenario for our drama? Right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We go into the episode and it's very clear that Wes's side has been taking control. He hasn't lost a lot of pieces recently. He's been making sure that things that he wanted to happen. And so just for suspense purposes, it'd be nice to see Wes's team against the wall with their back against the wall. And Kandy is a perfect person to do it. We were talking about what a good position Kandy has been in, but Kandy had been losing a lot of allies. And so this week it was imperative that she won the supervillain of the week. And she does a clutch win. And now she might be able to turn the tides in the game. But I do think there's some wiggle room for this to go wrong. And so I'm very interested to hear what you think about some of the moves that were made, and specifically, I guess the big move, Wes's Hail Mary in this episode. It was a ballsy play.
Yeah, I mean, last week, as we see Camila leave, we gave the cocky to Wes ultimately, and what could have been kind of an unsuspenseful road from the supervillain of the week to the hit list nominations, where you think, okay, we know Kandy is obviously going to target Wes and his cronies. So it's just a matter of what combination he's going is going to be next to Wes. Is it gonna be Wes and Safaree and Victoria, or Wes and Safaree and Jesse? Like who's Kandy gonna put him next to? And that could have just been like not very exciting. We end up getting a very, very interesting route from supervillain of the week to the eventual hit list nominations. But I loved how this episode kind of started off with Wes, before Kandy has even won. Wes is talking about her and how she's put herself in this incredible position, like you just said, Chappell. Like, she's been on the wrong side of the vote a couple of times now, supporting her friends as they go out the door. And Wes says this is genius because she's sending these people to the jury. Now that we know at least how the winner was crowned last season, we can at least assume they'll do a similar thing, if not the exact same way, this season. And she's sending all these people away feeling good about her because she was their friend, and she didn't even vote with the house against them. And Wes says, this is genius. But you know who else is genius? Me. And I got my eye on her. So I love this emerging like rivalry between Wes and Kandy. And I think that's why it's so beautiful that Kandy is the one that is eventually going to get the power this week, because Wes is surrounded. Surrounded by people that I think are very much recognizing that they can't be behind him for too long. But Kandy's kind of the underdog in this scenario. She's saying all throughout this episode, like, I'm on my own, like the bitches I supported are gone. So it's fun that we get the underdog in power here, because if Wes or Safaree had gotten supervillain of the week, boo, like tomato, because it would have just been too easy. And it would be boring to have Kandy be the next person out here. Just would be boring. So I love like the intense kind of build up to the battle royale where Kandy's coming into the kitchen and like she's being a villain, but like I feel like just in such a fun way that just doesn't feel threatening, where she's just like, I've come close on all of these comps, I've won some, like you better watch your asses. But it just felt like fun. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it feels like it goes along with her like drag persona as well. It's like
Yeah.
it's cool when Kandy says it. You know, if anybody else said it, it probably wouldn't hit the same. But
Delivery is important.
yeah, she's got the swagger down to where people are like, oh, that's just Kandy. You know, it's like she said what she meant, but Kandy is a
That's a
gamer.
queen. Yeah.
Yeah, Kandy is a gamer, and she's coming to play. And I want to know, like, is it time to start looking at what the end game is going to look like? I mean, we've only lost a couple players, but there's only a few
3.
more episodes left, right? And so yeah, you have to start looking at, okay, who can you beat at the end? And so Wes is already looking at Kandy as somebody who is a jury threat. If Kandy keeps voting, alongside the people who are getting eliminated, they won't have any harsh feelings toward Kandy. So at the end, they're gonna be like, Kandy never betrayed me. Kandy was fun. Kandy never did anything like largely disrespectful to me. So I can give Kandy my vote. Wes, somebody who is trained in watching and playing these games, he knows that that is a person that you should be concerned about. So now you got these two kind of like competing sides of, can Kandy get out Wes before Wes can take out Kandy? And in this episode, for a second, I thought Kandy had Wes on the ropes. It even looked like Wes's allies were even willing to be like, all right, well, if he gotta go, he gotta go. I will say this: as much as Wes has going for him, he really is surrounded by people, like some people who don't know what's going on, but he cannot have a blind spot for Mr. Spectacular. You know, the way Jesse was so ready to be like, take him, that shows you that if Wes can get through the candy of it all, he's still got other obstacles to complete before he can get to the end and win this game, because there are some savvy game players around him. I'm very excited to see how this turns out. Like, I know this is supposed to be a personality game, but the strategy is now really, really excited to watch them all play amongst themselves.
Right? Like I love that when we get a show like this where we think it's just going to be all camp, all filler, kind of just like, fun, but not that serious. And it's still not that serious.
It's not that
but
serious.
the gaming aspect of it is still giving. Like it still is giving us lots for us to break down. And it's great. That's part of why I really love this show, is because it is silly and unserious, and you've got such massive personalities that are not afraid to like get into it. But it's not just a show of people fighting. Like there is some really interesting game mechanics going on, and game mechanics being thrown in this season, some being made up. Like this is just, this episode was really, really fun. We had the teaser in the next time on from last episode that Wes was saying this was going to be the most villainous thing that has ever happened in the game. And we'll get into whether you agree with that or not. But I want to, before we get to this battle royale challenge, which we don't have to spend too much time on because I didn't know what was happening half the time. But I want to talk a little bit about Larsa and Victoria.
Yeah, let's talk about the fights, man. Let's get into it.
Because that is, aside the pre battle royale content, obviously this building up this Wes versus Kandy thing. But there's this terrible interaction between Larsa and Victoria. Like, I think this had to have been after the banishment, where they're all eating dinner, or like a few of them are eating dinner at the table. And I guess Teresa invites Victoria to sit with them. And Larsa just like does not fuck with this girl. And I can't remember like what she actually said, but it resulted in Larsa calling Victoria, I think, a piece of shit, right?
Oh yeah. I think Larsa is still talking about this damn dog party. Oh my god, this no one knew that this dog party that happened however long ago was going to loom so large. They're mad because Larsa brought up that Victoria's dog peed on everyone else's bag. allegedly. Now, Victoria says her dog doesn't pee, so that did not happen. But when Victoria goes to sit down, the conversation is still happening. She's like, hey, I'm not going to sit with you. You know what? Forget it. I'm not going to sit with you. And Larsa goes, nobody asked you to sit with us. To that, Teresa's like, I asked her.
I actually did.
I asked her to sit with us. And so that's when it's just like, they're so explosive, and they just don't like each other. It's never going to happen. Victoria's never going to get over that Larsa refuses to follow her back on Instagram. The dog thing is going to really loom large as well. This makes me want to keep them in the game as long as possible.
For sure. Because I mean, these are the only two that are really like constantly going at it at this point. And I don't know. It's like, it's definitely the most toxic. Like there's times where it's entertaining, and then there's times where I'm like, I feel like this is going a little too like ugly for me, but at the same time, like I am like, it's gripping. Larsa, how she talks about Victoria and how she feels like she is starting to feel like her look like talking about herself, and how like I just feel like Larsa, and I am not well versed in the Larsa lore, so I don't know if this is just how she is anytime she doesn't fuck with someone, but man, she is like Victor, like I just don't think that they're on the same level of how they approach an argument. Do you know what I mean? Like Larsa's getting like really personal.
Larsa has gone extremely low. Like she's like, I've taken it to hell. And Victoria's way of like fighting this is, Larsa, I'm not even gonna deal with you because you're taking it to hell, and like I'm too adult for that. And that is pissing Larsa off even more. She's like, Larsa, I won't stoop to your level. And Larsa's like, bitch, stoop. Let's get into it. Let's go down there. It's like, because you can't stoop to my level. Like Larsa is dragging Victoria down, and Victoria, she knows she can't go as low as Larsa. She knows that's not her speed. So for her, she's just like, Larsa, you're a child. But it's something about telling Larsa that she's immature, that she's a child, that she's not handling things well, that she's combative. She's all the things that she's saying that's negative about Larsa. Like, but also making Larsa calling her old even matter. Yes. Now
you're a child, but also you're old.
But the Larsa being old storyline is hilarious to me because we saw this in the trailers. Sandra said that Larsa was at least 20 years older than her. At this point, I don't know how old Larsa is because Victoria's like, yeah, she's 20 years older than me. The question, I guess, is how old is Sandra? Because
I think Sandra was doing some bad math. Because I feel like Victoria has referred to Larsa being 50, and it didn't seem like Larsa disputed that. And I think Victoria's like 30 or 31. So Victoria saying she's 20 years older than me, that I think if Larsa is truly 50, tracks. I don't think that's the same for Sandra. I don't think Sandra is 31. We should just look up how old Larsa is.
Well, the thing is, I think Sandra was 31 when she played Survivor the first time.
The first time. Oh, she literally is 50 years old. July 6th, 1974.
Oh, Larsa?
I mean, yeah, Larsa. Yeah.
Well, for one, I know this is the Traders podcast. No, Sandra was 29 when she played Survivor the first time. So she's about 51 as well. No,
she's also 50.
She's 50. So Sandra was just being extremely shady. Yeah, she was like, hey, you're 20 years older than me. And it was roughly a few weeks that separates them. I actually think maybe
Sandra must have meant 20 days because Sandra's birthday is July 30th, 1974, and Larsa's is July 6th, 1974.
I think so Sandra's exact quote was 20 to 30 years older than me is what she said. So I think she meant exactly what the fuck she said. She meant
what she said, but in reality, it was 20 to 30 days.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. So Larsa's age might be one of those things that, like it's really like a sore spot, So Victoria knows what she's doing when she picks on Larsa for being older than her. But also, it's kind of true. Larsa is 20 years older than Victoria, and so Victoria's looking at her like, bro, why are you being so childish? I can sit here and eat. We don't have to be best friends for me to sit here and eat. But even Victoria saying, I'm going to remove myself from this spot to go sit somewhere else, still gets under Larsa's skin. She's like, of course, look at you trying to do this, that, and the other. Like, look at you being a piece of shit. And when Teresa says, hey, have you tried being nice? Like, you could not antagonize her. Larsa says, when have I not been nice to her? When have I ever been mean to Victoria? Like,
To which I said,
rewind to
ma'am.
10 seconds ago.
Literally seconds ago, the second she sat down, you like, yeah. And here's the thing. Okay, so Teresa basically says to Larsa, like, you know, just because it's House of Villains, like, it doesn't mean that you have to, like, you know, just be like on somebody at all times. Like, it's not, you know, it's not a big deal. You don't need to just be mean to people because that's where we are.
Right.
And man, I just don't love this for Larsa. I feel like and you know, ultimately she ends this episode not in a great position game-wise, but I think that also her behavior and how she's handling the feud with Victoria, I think is actually going to quickly lose her favor with other people. I think she's already kind of like screwed up with what she did to Teresa. Yes, she made sure that the votes were there to keep her. Teresa obviously didn't end up going, but she put Teresa in harm's way. And that burned Teresa, but Teresa's kind of keeping her by her side and kind of giving her like a second chance with an eye on her. But you can see like Teresa is getting worn out by like Larsa's, because she still has affection for Victoria, and she also just thinks like it's not necessary to be going at her like this.
Yeah.
And I think that the other people that have been kind of like, I guess like Wes and Co, that have been sort of working with Larsa are probably going to start to feel like that too, where it's like, I don't know, like almost the way that they were talking about Victoria, because it's like even just like the last couple episodes, they were starting to say, "Oh, Victoria, she's starting to become a liability," blah blah blah. I can very easily see them making that same argument about Larsa, depending on how like this ultimate like hit list shakes out, because I just think that Larsa's doing too much, and she doesn't need to be like being that much of a villain in that way, you know?
Yeah, when you get in a mudslinging contest, you get mud on you as well, right? And so, like, if she had just let Victoria do her thing, then people are like, "Oh, Victoria's messy. Victoria's this, that, and other." But she like, "Nah, let's dig into the dirt, okay?" And so she's slinging mud. It's all over both of them. And so when Kandy is even talking about who to put on the hit list, the idea is, well, wouldn't it be funny if we saw, Victoria and Larsa going back and forth, like one of them, and it's like, yeah, people can get behind that. Like, yeah, put them up. Whoever survives, the other one goes. That way we get rid of some of the drama in the house, but also we get a show on the way out. And Larsa could have avoided that by taking the high road. It's insane to me that she hasn't realized that maybe Teresa is going to play the middle like this and maybe take Victoria's side in this competition, because you put her up. This is why we had an issue with her putting Teresa on the block in the first place, because now you're asking Teresa to pick between Victoria and Larsa at some point. You know, if it comes down to it, and who is it, Safaree comes off the hit list, then it's, do you want to vote for Larsa or do you want to vote for Victoria? And sadly, Larsa, I don't think Teresa is going to let this go as quickly as you have. You know, Larsa will call herself the peacemaker here, but the relationship she should really be trying to make peace with is the one with her and Victoria, and she just doesn't see it.
For sure. And I think that the behavior from Larsa, I think works better when she's in power. Like you can get away with like, like berating someone, getting in someone's face, calling them out, calling them a victim. Like you can at least get away with that when you're in power and everyone basically has to answer to you. For her to be like continuing to kind of poke at Victoria and just like not hold back how she feels when she is not in any sort of power here, is that's a dangerous game to be playing. And that's where it makes me feel like I don't think that this is a character. Like I don't think that this is playing things up for TV.
This is beef.
It definitely feels like that, Larsa is that woman that is just like, fuck you, I hate you, and if you are in my like area, I will say anything to cut you down. And yeah, I don't think it's a great game move, and I don't think it's good for her relationships with other people in the house, because they don't want to be dealing with that either, right? Like, they want to watch it, but they don't want the mudslinging, right? If you're close enough to the mudslinging, you
It'll
will
get on
also
you
get
too.
mud on you. Yeah, like they don't want.
Exactly.
So I don't love this look for Larsa, and I'm worried that we are heading to like the rise and fall of Larsa here after potentially being only a couple episode arc here. Because yeah, not a great start to this.
At least follow her
And
back, Larsa. Damn, Tori Spelling followed her back.
exactly. And I think Chappell would like a follow from Tori Spelling if she's giving them away.
I mean, is she wearing the fishnets?
Probably.
Okay, we'll see.
Maybe in some, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. That's gonna make my decision a lot easier.
Chappell will be on only fishnets. So anyway, Larsa is pushing buttons before Battle Royale, and this Battle Royale is going to ultimately come down to Victoria versus Kandy. This could have been way worse for Larsa. It doesn't go great anyway, but if Victoria ends up being Supervillain of the week here, that's a guaranteed situation for Larsa.
Yeah, a part of me, I've become a Vicky fan. But here's the thing. I told you, so when I watched her on The Bachelor, I was also a Vicky fan. I thought it was insane that this woman showed up with the crown. She wasn't even on that long, and she pissed off everybody. I was like, nah, let her cook. And so in this feud, I think I'm team Vicky, and so I was a little part of me was kind of like, if Vicky wins this, it would be nice to see her kind of get revenge, because it's like you said, at some point it does feel like Larsa's punching down. Even some of the insults, like, at least I have a home to go to. What does that even mean? So it's like, hey man, Victoria, get your revenge. But Kandy winning makes the game a lot more interesting, and so I would love to see what that looks like. And so when it comes down to the two of them, it was a tough decision for me, but I was really hoping that, okay, I'm okay with Kandy taking this as well, because it's about to make the game, a little bit spicier. Some of the people who have been safe might not be so safe anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And so this challenge was very much reminded me of Dondi, the do you remember that challenge? Yes.
Yeah.
Any of our listeners here on the Dondi train? Dondi season 2
coming soon. Yeah.
If you are listening to this coverage of House of Villain season 2 and you have not watched Deal or No Deal Island, get on it, because season 2 is about to be freaking spicy. But anyway, so the point of this challenge is one bag is full of blood and one bag is full of plasma. They look the same, and you want to make your opponent choose the blood. You have to trick them into picking the blood so that it explodes on them and they're eliminated. The challenge here, though, is that like they start off knowing which one is which, and then because they're not marked and they have like this little like it's like a, what was it, like a plate? It had like a spinning thing.
Yeah,
it's like a lazy
plate.
Yeah,
not
a lazy Susan. Is it a lazy? Yeah, okay. It's like a plate that's like a lazy Susan. It like rotated. And I feel like it's, unless you lock in on what bag had which, I feel like they were all getting confused for a second about which, especially Jesse, about which one they were giving. Because there was like, I don't know, it seemed, and for the viewers, I quickly got confused about what was happening. And maybe that's just me, having a learning disability.
No. This is a us thing, Jenny. Because like for the normal human, you come in, you see the plasma, you pick the plasma, you know which one is the plasma, and then from there, you strategically move the plasma around so that they pick the wrong one. But for you and I see the plasma, I put the plasma down. Which one was the plasma? I do not know.
Seconds later, going, wait.
Right. I'm just as surprised as you when you open the bag. This is not, a game
But
design
that's
flaw.
fun. Isn't it fun to be
Yeah.
surprised? It's a surprise for me too. Maybe I'll win,
Right.
maybe I won't. I don't know.
Right. And I think it's better if you're trying not to give away any tells, because if you literally don't remember, then how do you guess what I'm thinking?
You
So,
might as well
I
just
think
make it a game of luck. It's
I
just
mean,
like
it pretty
if
much
you're like
is.
us, because it's like we'll be better at not, like you said, not giving any tells if we are truly in the same on the same page of I don't know what the fuck I
I
gave
don't
you.
know. Yeah, who
I
knows?
don't know what's about to happen actually. So
Right. I mean, if you blindly choose, you could just scramble them up however you want and then go for it and then hope for
yeah.
the best. So a few people had strategies. My favorite strategy of all of them, my girl Victoria, she comes in against Larsa, and when she says Larsa is a liar, her entire game is a lie, and no matter what, I'm just gonna do the opposite of what she says, because she is going to lie to me regardless of what the situation is. And she completely pegged her correct. She like, yeah, you're whatever you say, opposite. Yep, bet, boom, got her. I was like,
Yeah.
that is how you know your opponent right there, right? You have to know what they're thinking, how they would think that you think. But for her, she said it's very transparent with Larsa. All she wants to do is lie to me, and
And
I'm
it's
going to
just
just go
one
with the opposite.
level.
It's
Because
just
like
one level.
some of these other matches are like, I think that you think that I'll think
Uh
this. And it's
huh.
like, whereas like Victoria, she's just like, she's going to lie. So I am just going to do the opposite.
Know your enemy.
And it works, and that's got to be such a satisfying. Ultimately, Victoria does not get the final dub here, but like for her to at least be responsible for eliminating Larsa after Larsa calls her up, which was obviously like going to happen. That has to be like a mini win for Victoria here. She's probably thrilled about this.
She called Larsa a stupid ass bitch. She's like, it's not even game related insults anymore. These two women hate each other. She goes,
Yeah.
yeah, all she's gonna do is lie. Why? Because she's a stupid ass bitch. She's like,
Here,
God.
here's the thing, though. I truly think that if Larsa was nicer to Victoria earlier on and this like, had dealt with the oh you didn't follow me back thing
Mhm.
like better, I really think that Victoria would not be like this. Like I do think
Yeah.
that there's a part of Victoria where like she wants to be loved and accepted, and I I don't think that she would feel this viscerally about Larsa if it weren't for the how mean Larsa is to Victoria. Like it definitely
Right.
does feel not it's not one-sided, but I think that like you're only getting this kind of energy from Victoria because you kind of poked
You're
her.
giving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even picking Victoria in this first round, you didn't have to do that. You could have picked anybody else and just let them deal with Victoria and hope that y'all didn't even have to cross paths. But you wanted to be the one to take her out of the game. Like you
I
wanted
think
to be
that's
the one to end that.
fine because like that's the thing is like she's going to expect that obviously, but it's like it's almost like because there's clearly times in the house where there's like non-game things happening and they're just like all hanging out. There's only so few, like so many of them. There's only so few places that you
Mhm.
can like rooms you can be in around people. So I get the sense that like Victoria is ultimately trying to just like coexist peacefully, and Larsa is having none of that
No.
at any point.
Nope.
So obviously both are in the wrong at certain points about certain things, but I'm having a really hard time not backing Victoria here because it just does start to feel a little in poor spirit here.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, so we're gonna get down to Kandy versus Victoria, and Kandy pulls out the win. She does the like however many levels
Mhm. You think
of
that I think that you think that
yeah.
I think. Mhm.
I could never win this. I think
No.
I'm very here's the thing. I think I'm perceptive with like people lying. Actually, on the weekend, Phil and I were playing. Have you ever played Mancala?
I've seen
Okay.
people play Mancala.
Okay.
I
So
don't
anyway,
game.
how we were figuring out how to start was Phil would put one of the like little I don't know what it is. It's like a little stone in one of his hands, and then I had to guess which hand. And I was good
Yeah.
at it. I was like,
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but like I that sort of thing I'm good at, but keeping track of things not so much. Like I'm a like intuition perception kind of person. But I would be bad at being the other person, like giving it to the person and making them guess which one, because like we said, I would forget the second that I put it down. I don't even know what my strategy is.
I'm completely useless in all of this. Like I have no, like there's no side of this that I'm good at, Jenny. I'm a very social person. And I would be very good at being like nice to the person who is picking, you know, like and maybe they might be nice to me, you know.
Here's the thing. It's maybe you in this situation you end up being the Jesse where Safaree just gives it to him. Just says, I'm gonna let Jesse have it.
Well, yeah. So there is some strategy going on in here, right? So Safaree basically throws it to Jesse. There's definitely a moment where Wes throws it to Teresa. You know, they have their conversation before.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about New York. We haven't mentioned her yet. This episode.
My queen.
She gets chosen because Kandy's like, hey, no, Victoria picks New York, and New York is a psychic. We know this.
Yes.
She picks Kandy for whatever reason. And Kandy tries to read her, but she can see in her eyes that she doesn't want to be covered in blood. And so New York bathes in the blood. She ends up bathing in the blood. Earlier in the episode, you know, Larsa was talking to New York about maybe mending fences, with Teresa. And I'm taken back to the conversation because I'm thinking, okay, New York's a psychic. We've established this. She should know which bag is which, right? But she's not the one choosing. She's the one trying to make Kandy choose. So we never actually got to put that up for display. But in the conversation she had with Teresa earlier, Teresa says, you came for somebody I love talking about my husband cheating on me. And I didn't like that. And New York says, well, it was obviously a lie. Like, why I said it because it was funny and it was a lie. Like, I thought we were having a kiki. I didn't think that you would take it seriously. I was like, where did that come from? We have never heard that side of the story at all. Then New York completely made this up because she thought it was so far-fetched that Teresa's husband was cheating on her. And don't get me wrong, it's so obviously a lie. There's no way that this man is cheating on her with all of those roses.
Yeah.
But it escalated, and now New York is looking at Teresa like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought we were terrific.
I thought that was good. I didn't know that was a problem for you. I thought we were just having a fun time. You're my favorite mob wife. You know, I love that show.
Here's the thing. I believe this from New York. I truly feel like she was like, I don't know, I was just in a funny, silly mood. I just felt like having a little fun.
Yeah, because for some reason, and we've talked about it since episode 1, New York has been untouchable this season. Kandy is about to win Supervillain of the Week, and she picks Jesse, which is a curious choice for me, but she also picks New York, and New York says, what? Because she can't even believe that she's going on this date with Kandy and Pex. And I'm like, New York's social game this season.
Oh,
it's top tier, Jenny. How is she okay right now? She's killing it. Are we gonna see New York win a reality show? Is that about to happen?
I would love, I would love nothing more.
I don't know how I don't know how she pulls it off.
She would still be here at this point. There's no way.
I didn't think she would still be here. And I also thought, and I stand by, there's no such thing as the New York Whisperer. I know this woman to my core, okay? I know this woman like I know me.
Just because you don't know what it's like to have the spirit of someone who could do it, you know?
Exactly. But New York managing to make it through the Teresa beef seemingly unharmed, and then also get chosen as one of Kandy Muse's second in command on this date after she wins Supervillain of the Week. It's just so fascinating to me. I've been loving New York this season. She's and she can fly off the handle and just be in everybody's good graces in the next scene.
Because she does it in such a again, this is where I'm talking about the difference between the energy you get from New York when she pops off or Kandy when she pops off compared to how Larsa and at sometimes Victoria, where it's they're spouting some wild shit, but there's this levity and almost kind of performatism to it
cartoonish.
That it's just I believe that it's not that deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just feel where that fight, the Larsa versus Victoria stuff is very it feels very personal. But yeah, New York can get away with this stuff. And she ends this episode where, you know, they're saying Safaree, I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead. Safaree is basically like, all of us have been on the hit list like multiple times, and New York and Wes haven't. Jesse has. So it's Wes, Jesse, and New York that are going to be left standing there. And truly, New York is actually the only one that has not touched the hit list, because Wes did technically touch the hit list, gets saved by the knock blocker cock that Victoria had. So it's wild that at this stage of the game, New York is truly the only player that has not touched the hit list block.
It's incredible. If you're Teresa, I have to ask, if you're Teresa, do you let this slide? Because Teresa was really, really mad about it. Like, New York can say she was just playing, but if you're Teresa, are you like, all right, bet, I agree? Like, because if I'm Teresa, I definitely like, New York.
I don't think that she lets it go.
You're gaslighting me. You gaslighting me, man. I can't let it go. I feel like Teresa is the only person right now that I think has a bone to pick with New York. However, I also think that if New York, we're running out of people, we're running out of slots. At some point, New York is going to touch that block. And if she does, I think that's the end of New York's game. I just, you know, we know my girl. She's got a hair trigger.
You think she
like, I think that her and Bobby Lights are very similar in that, like, hey, given the spotlight, they're going to take the spotlight. And I think that it's way more fun being a supervillainess and going out in a blaze of glory than it is playing docile and trying to remain available for the week. Now, is there people that she can survive the block against? Maybe, right? Maybe there are people that were like, nah, this person can go over New York because they're a bigger threat. But as long as she avoids the block, I think she's chilling. I think she's good. I don't think anybody's going to mess with her, because I also think that she frightens these people. We've seen several times where conflict has come up and they're like, I'm not putting New York up. Are you crazy? Or I'm not going to fight for my bed. Are you what? I'm not dealing with that right now, you know? So I don't know if it's because she's an all-star. You know, we talk about in these other social strategy games, playing a second time, returnees, right? But I do think there might be something to it, because they saw New York play the first time. They know she will take it to hell.
She will get bored.
So they're like, I don't need that. But in my mind, she's been charging all season, Jenny. She's been charging. What is she going to do with that pent-up energy? She's at 100%, Jenny.
I think she's got like a backup reserve too. Like, I think she's good to go.
If she unleashes, it's going to be fireworks. But if she doesn't, New York might win this whole season. And,
God,
man,
what a timeline. What a timeline.
Yeah.
Listen, I'd love to live in that world. But you mentioned Kandy's choice to take New York here, even though New York chose Kandy to go against in this challenge. But I really think that Kandy's choices on who to bring on this reward like make a lot of sense, and she explains why she does it. So there's this like budding like alliance between Kandy and Jesse, Mr. Spectacular. So she says, you know, Jesse's like the person I trust most at this point, and New York is a wild card. And so these are two people like I gotta try and work something with these people. So I actually think that these are really sensible choices for Kandy, because like, what is she going, you know, like what's the point of taking anyone else almost? Like,
no, that's true. She wants Wes out. So she needs people who are going to be willing to flip on Wes potentially. And, you know, one of those people being New York. It's like, fine. New York doesn't seem to have any like strong alliances with anybody. And then Pex can like see the value in somebody like Wes going out right now, right? Like, because that would make Jesse probably one of the stronger, more strategic players in the game. And Jesse also probably doesn't want to be the one to take a shot at Wes, because he wants the jury vote. He wants to be able to remain loyal to Wes by saying, all right, well, you know, it happened, but there was nothing I can do, you know, so that
but not responsible for getting him out. Yeah.
Right. Because taking Victoria It's almost like a shot to Larsa in a weird way because Larsa is so sensitive about the way Victoria is being perceived, right? Like, why you like her?
Mhm.
Why are you friends with her? You know,
Yeah.
same thing. If you take Larsa, Victoria's like, oh, you're dead to me, probably. You know, like you're burning some bridges by taking either
And
of
you're not
those
gonna bring
people.
them together. That would be the worst
Right.
time ever.
No, God, dear God, no. And then also they both kind of they all they're gonna do is complain about the other. So you probably don't even want to take them separately. Teresa taking her is really not gonna do you any favors because what is Teresa like? She doesn't really have a lot of
She doesn't
leverage
really
in the
have
game right
any
now.
sway. Yeah.
Right. And then same thing with Safaree. They're kind of like pieces on the puzzle, but they're not in charge of anything. You want to take somebody who you can pick up.
Yeah.
And I think Safaree is probably like, you know, firmly seated in the West camp. Where Pex can be bought, I think.
And I'm sure that like Jesse was probably also because it seemed like Jesse was one of the people that that did kind of want to keep Camila last week. So you have to
Yeah.
imagine that at some point Jesse and Kandy were talking and that Kandy sees that Jesse is trying to play his own game here. We see in this episode actually Kandy discusses how she feels about Safaree and that he's not the big dog and that she says he's the face of the snake and that Wes is behind him making all of the moves. I thought that was interesting, like not the head of the snake, the face of the snake.
Yeah,
Like
he's a
truly
mask.
just a cosmetic piece.
Yeah, he's a mask. This is Wes is the head of the snake still, but I was
Yes.
like, is she saying Wes is the ass of the snake? But I mean,
He's the
snake is
head and
mostly
the ass, I think.
well, the snake is mostly ass. You know, like it's only got this much man, and all the rest of this is ass. You
Is
know,
that again science? Is that really how a snake works? Where it's like the all of the tail, everything that isn't head is ass?
I mean, it can't be leg
What about torso?
or it's all torso.
Is it all torso or is it all ass?
If
Sound
it's a
off in the
rattlesnake, the
chat.
rattle is an ass. It depends on what the
Okay.
snake's tail looks like, right?
So
Because
there's
if it's
like some
just tail,
thick bootied snake and then some are
yeah,
like little pancake ass.
right, double cheeked up. You know, if it's just flat assed, then it's all ass. It's like it's just some people have just really long torsos, like Megan
Okay. Yes.
Hauserman, like so like
Right.
you gotta
Yes.
you
Famously.
yeah you have to locate the ass, and I think right now Wes is the head of the snake. Safaree is the face. I'm assuming Jesse's somewhere in the body. Like if there's a
But that's
snake,
the thing. Candy doesn't mention Jesse, so I think that
yeah,
Candy sees that Jesse isn't actually under Wes's control.
which is good. Which is good for Jesse, right? Like, cause he's like, all right, he's not going to be caught in the crossfire if this thing
Yeah.
comes onto Wes. And things are looking bad for Wes. But Jenny, we're getting a little flashback to last season because these people from the challenge, if they don't know how to do anything else, they know how to prep for a game of House of Villains. And this felt like a card out of Johnny Banana's wallet, like a little
Yeah, but
yeah.
this okay, and here's the thing. I feel like what Wes maybe took a page out of Johnny Banana's book in House of
Mhm.
Villains season 1, but he just did more.
Yeah.
This man, I don't know, where did he get this little trinket? So we see the flashback. Wes knows he's in trouble. He had something prepared. And now's the time. He's got to pull it out of his pocket. We get the flashback to 2 days before the game started. Wes has this note he prepared pre-game, and it's like a fake immunity idol that he's and it looks legitimate. Like it's at least a thing. I don't what was like some sort of little necklace thing? I don't know. What was it?
It exists. I don't know. It was just like
It's like a
it was
little
a
black
thing.
necklace thing.
Right.
And like okay, but this is so great for him because I think that like yeah, sure, the idea of making up a fake advantage that you can bring into the game. Who knows? I guess there's no rules here. That you can't do that. But I think that Wes also gets lucky here in that
Mhm.
if the knock blocker hadn't come out and been a legitimate part of the game, I think that this immunity idol type thing that he has made up is a lot harder to believe because
Yeah, for sure.
up until this point you're like there's no other like there hasn't been any other like twist in the game. But I
Mhm.
think that because we hear Kandy say, I've been looking everywhere since that knock blocker came out. I've been searching the pantries and stuff. So the fact that there is at least the idea that there could be new things, little items that could be found in the house that actually impact the game. That has been brought out at this point. There is no reason to really doubt that there could be another thing found. Why would there just be one thing early in the game and then nothing else for the rest of the game?
Well, that's a good point for the game design too. You know, I've been sitting here thinking, are we only going to get one knock blocker this entire time?
I
Like,
was too. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Bring the
valid.
cock out.
Yeah, bring out that cock. You
Bring the
know,
cock back.
it's a game-changing cock. It really is. I
Mhm.
think that you're right. I think that it legitimized other random advantages being found because Victoria did nothing to receive it. She just opened the refrigerator
Open
and
the
it was
fridge.
there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like she needed to do anything. So Wes doesn't even have to say, I was looking for it, or you know, I did a challenge, or there was a puzzle. All he has to say is like, I woke up and I saw this thing and now I have it. And luckily for Wes, he is savvy enough to come up with something like this, but also that, you know, someone like Kandy, who's a fan of these types of games, knows that when there's one, there's probably something else, right? So
Right.
Kandy has been looking. And yeah, I think the lie works regardless, right? I don't think anybody's going to push back against it too much once it's typed up on paper, because no one would think you took the time to do this before you even came on the show. Like, that's weird. Because even I was thinking, like, that's weird, you know. But don't get me wrong, innovative, but also weird. You know, and so I don't think anybody's going to push back against it too much because it's too risky to say, I don't think that's real. Like, at best, you could grab it and be like, production, is this real? You know, and I don't even think they would tell you because this game is
Yeah,
crap.
that's what I'm wondering. Like, what, like, because Jesse at the reward trip asks, "Is there any way to confirm if what the person is telling you is true?" And at that point, I'm like, is he suggesting Kandy should be asking production, like, "Is this
Right. Look
legit?"
at the camera and say, like, hey, is this cool? Like, am I tripping? You know?
But what would happen if Kandy does ask? Like, do you think that production would just be like, "We can't confirm or deny anything"?
I think so. I think for the game, I think that now they're in we can't confirm it or not because they want to do what's best for good TV.
Yeah.
But again, look at who brought it up. It's Jesse. Jesse is Wes's biggest competition in this game, and it's
Yeah.
not even close. We said this from episode 1. Wes is a professional challenge competitor. He is now retired from the challenge, but he has been doing these games for a long time. Jesse played Big Brother twice, almost back to back. And so that is an incredible amount of time to be playing a social strategy game. Like, people underestimate the amount of time. Like, if you're not a Big Brother fan, back in the day, you could be in the house for 100 days, you know,
Yep.
and lose, you know, and literally lose the game and still be there for 100 days. And
Hell.
so Jesse has done like at least 50, 60 days in the Big Brother house, probably.
I think so, yeah, probably.
Yeah, and honestly, y'all, if you're not familiar with Jesse lore, they cheated him out of the game. Okay, he did not lose the game of Big Brother the second time. He was winning, and he got cheated by something very similar to this, by the way. Because Wes is saying this allows me to replace Kandy as the
Mhm.
supervillain of the week. Jesse has been coup d'etat out of the game before, which was
Chappell saying hashtag Jesse was pushed.
Jesse was pushed. I've been saying this since day one.
True.
So Spectacular has been here before. So he's like, you need to make
Yeah.
sure that that's what's going on, because I'm sure
He's
he had
like-
a long conversation when he got voted out, when it happened to him. And he's
Like,
like,
is this
you
for
didn't
real?
even right, you didn't even see the letter. And so that incentivizes Kandy to go back and see the letter. But to Wes's credit, he might have lied to Kandy about what it could actually do, but the power he gave himself was solid too. He gave himself immunity. And why would Kandy waste a nomination just to have to put up somebody else?
Yeah. So I want to talk about the decision to lie for Wes here, and I think I'm leaning towards it actually being better, because best case scenario, he makes he embellishes what is actually written on the note that he created himself, obviously. So he didn't have to lie about it. He could just truly say what it was. But the
Yeah.
power, like you said, the power that he gave himself by saying, like, if I were to use this, not only do you get taken, like, not only can you not put me up, I take over, and then now the week is up to me. You have zero power. And so best case scenario, Kandy does not question this, it doesn't look at it, is afraid of it, and doesn't touch him. Now the what could have been the worst case scenario is she either calls his bluff or she asks to see it and sees what it actually says, and it's just like, this guy's lying about everything. I don't trust him. I'm just gonna try and put him up and see what happens. But I think that because he did lie, I almost feel like it maybe even helped the legitimacy, because it's like Kandy doesn't trust him in terms of like, on a game level of like, you would probably want to get me out. Like, we know we're against each other. But I think that it made Kandy feel better that it was like, okay, he's still like a little schemy. He tried to get a little bit more than he wanted, but he's still safe. I'm not going to touch it. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something about the fact that like Kandy was like, okay, this guy is still up to something. He's lying. Like, he tried to get more out of this. I don't know. Like, does that make sense? Like, I feel like it is still, because if he just like was like, completely like it was too good to be true, then you'd be like, what's happening here? So I feel like the fact that like Wes didn't play this perfectly worked better.
It disarmed Kandy. I think anytime you tell the truth about a lie, people are like, okay, whew, you confirm my suspicions. And then they don't double check into the lie, right? Because had Kandy been like, now what happened? Like, even Wes says it, like, as long as Kandy doesn't sit with this note and start asking a bunch of questions, I think we're fine. Victoria's power was very specific. This allows me to block the vote. That's it. It wasn't I get to I get to replace the person, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It wasn't, you could ask a million questions. No matter what, after this has happened, once I decide, I can switch this out. I don't know what Wes typed on that paper, but he's like, hey, my shit is ambiguous. Like, I just need her to know that I'm immune. Like, I don't know what that means. Maybe it didn't say like whether or not Wes could switch the votes, right? Because we saw with Victoria, she could switch it, and it was in the rules. Victoria didn't have a note. She just held up the little cocky. She was like, well, this is what I can do. And Joel McHale just like,
this is legitimate. Yeah,
he honored it. I think that Wes playing this pretty poorly does work in his favor, because if it's on brand for Wes to want to take more than he already has, like, it's kind of like typical Wes to get to get an inch and take a mile. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so again, like, that's on brand. My issue here is that Kandy's gonna believe this regardless. Like, there's no reason for Kandy to not believe this lie, just because like she doesn't have any reason to. Like, no, production's not stepping in. No one's saying like, hey, that's not real. Like, unless you just like naturally just don't believe shit Wes is gonna say, it's not a great risk to take. But honestly, there's not a lot of harm in taking the risk. Let's say she does put up Wes and he blocks it. She'd have to replace it at that point, but she would have burned the advantage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now Wes potentially has an immunity idol that he can use next round, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's the part that's not clear, right? Because like, why wouldn't he have had to explain to her like wouldn't you think that he would have to play it if he gets nominated the way that Victoria plays the knock blocker, and then have Joel acknowledge that it is legitimate? And so that is the part where I'm like, I actually am, in hindsight, surprised that Kandy just, I forget what the wording was and what Wes said the wording was, but it's like, why wouldn't she think that it is essentially like the knock blocker, but it protects yourself and you just play it if you get nominated and you don't get to rename the next person. It's just you taking yourself off of the block. Like, why not just do it then?
yeah, like, put them up, burn it. Is it for one round? I think Victoria's cocky was only for one round. It wasn't like like she could use it the next. She couldn't hold on to it. She had to play it anyway or not play it at all. So it's kind of like Wes doesn't have those rules, those specifics in the game. Like, since when do you can just have an immunity idol that you can just play after the votes the entire time?
Yeah.
So I think that's why Wes is like, smoke and mirrors. Here's the thing, but give it right back to me, because if you sit with this too long, you're gonna poke holes in it. Kandy should have put up Wes regardless.
Yeah.
Because then Wes has to use it, and then he doesn't have it anymore. Thus, you put up Wes, who you wanted to put up anyway. But it's not like Wes didn't know you wanted to put him up. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you made another enemy in putting up Wes. He was always going up. Put up Wes, see what happens, and then put up your actual backup option that you were going to put up anyway. So Kandy got a Miller outplayed here, and that's okay, because that's why we have Wes.
Wes is good. Wes,
that's his thing.
Here's the thing, he is good. And I like, even though he didn't play this perfectly, and I think there is some merit to like him not playing it perfectly and how that kind of like confirms what you think about him, so you know that it's not too good to be true. I do really, question why, Kandy didn't ask maybe more questions and think about like, okay, well, you have to, if you're going to play it anyway, like, I don't want to give you too much power. You have to understand my position here. I'm fine with you taking yourself off. Like, that's totally okay. But like, I can't just be leaving you in this like get out of jail free card for like many more rounds. So I'm going to put you up, but I know that you're going to play this and it's going to be good. And then she could even be saying like, that's good for us to work together. Like, if
Mhm.
whether she means it or not, to be like, hey, this is actually better for us. I put you up, you play your thing. I already know you're going to do it, but I don't have to, I don't have to let other people know that I know. And then people will think that we're going to continue to go after each other next week. That's
Yeah.
good for us. Like, why not still do that? Say, I'm still going to put you up. That way we know it's going to happen.
Mhm.
But I know you're safe and it's all good.
Right. I mean, there's
And
really no telling what Wes said to her. Wes could have been
right,
like,
yeah.
Kandy, I can replace the nominee, like the cocky. Like, it doesn't say it on the
Yeah.
paper, but just trust me, they told me I could, like something like that. Because in which case, you don't want that, right? Because if
Mhm.
Kandy only has a few allies left, and if Wes is able to put up one of Kandy's allies, then Wes has the numbers to probably take them out, And so
Yeah.
I think she played it safe. I don't think it was the best move, but
Yeah.
again, with Wes doing things outside of the realm of the game, it's really hard to optimize your gameplay at that point. To which I say, this is House of Villains. Next season, come in with a bag of tricks. Johnny Bananas did it, Wes did it. I would be suspicious of any advantages next season, and I think
Oh,
that the
yeah.
game should lean into that even more. They should throw more
Put
advantages
stuff
in, so
in,
that
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that people have to play a little bit more, or a little riskier. Make some big moves. I think Kandy's a little timid this round, and so we haven't talked about it yet. I think Wes got to get the cocky. I think so. I think saving
Yeah, you
himself off the
have
block
to.
this week, he has to
You
have it.
have to.
Yeah,
And it is pretty diabolical, and the fact
it
that
is.
he got away with it is impressive because, I don't know all of the behind the scenes things whether, production has to play along or has to just deny, and there's enough reasonable doubt that would make Kandy go along with it, but like this was a pretty high risk, high reward situation. And, it has a limited amount of time in that, like, I think Kandy's going to find out very quickly that this was all bullshit and she got played by Wes. But I wonder if there's any merit to Kandy being like, listen, maybe it's just best that like I think that there is a chance that Wes is bullshitting me, but maybe I just need to go just in case, go along, make sure one of his cronies goes out here,
Mhm.
and maybe he either thinks he owes me one because I did him a favor and I stayed true to my word here, and I'm not his biggest target next week if he were to win, or in the very least he thinks that I'm easy to manipulate, and that helps me too. And so again, I don't know that Kandy's thinking this much about it, but like I'm just trying to be like find this backwards way of thinking like, can this still work out okay for Kandy if she ultimately gets rid of one of these three people who are arguably people that Wes has some control over
Yeah,
in Safaree, Larsa, and Victoria.
right now, Safaree, Larsa, and Victoria all going. Any of those people going is good for Kandy anyway. So
Yeah,
putting Wes up on the block was not a guarantee that Wes would be going home either. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
He easily could have just won the redemption. Yeah,
Or he could have got the votes. We don't know.
true,
So
true.
it's not like a game losing mistake from Kandy, but it definitely is something like you got outplayed a little bit. You can't get the cocky this week, but and it's crazy because had Wes not pulled this off, I probably would have been looking at like spectacular for the cocky or even
Yes.
Kandy. But I think
Jesse is still playing so good. I'm
he's so
so
good.
impressed. Like
This is what my king does. Okay, I'm telling you, he was robbed twice essentially. Definitely
Jesse
once
was
for sure.
pushed.
He was pushed. He was pushed.
Yeah.
But Safaree's on the block now.
Yes. Ugh.
So honestly, of the three people, Safaree, Larsa, and Vicky, in a normal situation, I'd be like, Safaree can go. he's not a source of drama right now. He's not really a source of entertainment either. He's pretty upset for
Kind of
being on the block.
fun.
Yeah, he's fun. And so I like to keep the drama people in the house. But the
Yeah.
Larsa and Victoria's drama has gotten so toxic that it's almost not fun to watch anymore.
Exactly. It's like it's been fun, but it's getting a little old, and it's getting a little bit like toxic, and not in the fun way where it's like there like I want to hear absurd and out of this world unserious type drama, like the stuff that you're getting out of New York, where whereas like just calling somebody like poor, essentially being like, you don't have a home to go back to, and like personal like appearance attacks. Like Victoria even calls it out. She's just like, all of your insults are so superficial, and like Larsa's like, oh yeah, and you're so deep.
Real.
It's just I think that if it could be a little bit more dynamic and not just so like, I don't know, petty in like not a fun way, I could roll with this a little bit longer. But Safaree, even though he's not really part of the drama, his little interactions here and there are delightful to me. They're funny. And I have a take on where I think that this is going to go this week. I don't know how we get there, but I said it early in the episode. I feel like we're in the middle of the rise and fall of Larsa and her game here.
Yeah, I mean, Larsa does campaign to get Vicky up. She's like, listen, I'm too established to go head to head with Vicky all the time. And to that, I'd say, yes, that's what Victoria keeps telling you. Like, grow up, like you don't need to do this. We don't have to go back and forth like this, but she can't help it. She needs Vicky out of the game. Now, do the rest of the people want Vicky out of the game? That's the question. I think leaving Wes off the block, he has every reason to save Victoria. He has no reason to save Larsa. Larsa is kind of in Wes's pocket, only in the sense that Larsa helped Spectacular that time. And so, like that.
And she kept all the guys off the block.
And she kept them off the block. Yes. Victoria is a huge target to leave in the house. If I'm Wes, I'm like, you gotta, like, if I'm Wes, I'm thinking, who can I stay against? And if you can't stay next to Victoria, you know what I'm saying? Like at this point, she's been pissed off everybody. Then you're just too big of a threat. And so I'm thinking that he's got to want to keep her in the game. And maybe this is the battle between who gets their way. Is Spectacular more incentivized to try to keep Larsa around, whereas Wes is more incentivized to keep Victoria around? I don't really know, but I would love to see it. I would love to see them trying to fight for who they have as votes,
Yeah. I think the most interesting vote we could have in next episode is obviously if Safaree wins the redemption challenge, takes himself off, and we truly do get Victoria versus Larsa, because, and I think that's I see that happening because we're setting up like Teresa being in the middle of this feud. Like you can kind of see her getting a little bit tired of how like Larsa is handling herself and how mean she is to Victoria. I think that Wes saw Larsa as like a helpful person in his pocket. We get the thing at the beginning where it's like, oh, this cemented us working with the housewives, the real house husbands of the valley, that little cute little edit. But I really do think that Wes can also look at this and be like, I think if he still sees Kandy as a problem and his biggest threat in the house, if Kandy put up Larsa, but clearly says to Larsa, you are kind of up by happenstance, and it kind of says to Larsa that you're not really the target here, then wouldn't you not want to keep someone that Kandy wants to keep here, and at least make sure that she doesn't get her way, even after you've already manipulated your way of not getting onto the hit list. I think that's the argument here for why Wes would probably pick Victoria over Larsa. And I also just think that like he might just be like, Larsa's getting a little too messy, and she's a little bit harder to control than Victoria. Like coming back around on it, because they were kind of saying this about Victoria, or saying like, she's becoming a liability, but like he might be coming back around and being like, actually, I think Larsa might be the liability. We saw her also put up her homegirl. Like she put up Teresa. Like, I don't know if I actually trust her.
Yeah, Victoria's gameplay is kind of predictable, it's like,
Yeah.
Larsa could do anything, and so,
Yes.
yeah, I think you always want a wild card out if you can handle it, and I
Mhm.
think Victoria is way less, like, prone to flipping on you than, because she likes to have friends, Victoria is very clearly like you said, she likes to be accepted, and I think she's in a good, solid alliance right now that's not letting her go anywhere. She wants that. Now, Spectacular hates Victoria. He's been trying to get her out for a very
Yeah.
long time.
But is he warming to her? Is he starting to
Is he?
feel bad for her? I don't
That's a
know.
good question. That's what I'm saying. That's a good question. And so I guess we'll have to see. But I do think it could potentially be the war of who wants to keep somebody more. Does
Yeah.
Jesse want to keep Larsa more than he wants to keep Victoria? Because Jesse was fine with Victoria going over
Yeah.
Camila. So
Yeah.
like here we are, where I'm like, all right, maybe there's some intrigue here.
Mhm.
We shall see. We shall see. I'm very excited to see what happens next.
Yeah. I think it's gonna
Because
be an interesting vote no matter what, right?
yeah, I not to show my hand too much, but I am rooting for Victoria in this round. I would like to see her stay. Like I said, the Larsa stuff is getting kind of, it's
Yeah.
not fun. It's not fun
A
villain
little one
stuff.
note.
It
Yeah.
is, and it's just mean at this point. Like
Mhm.
say mean funny things.
I just
Like
like the when Victoria cries, which I believe is sincere and that she's not just doing for like to be, like to get
sympathetic.
sympathy.
Yeah.
And like I just feel like when someone's crying and like you're mocking them being like, "Oh, go cry more, go be the
Yeah, go
victim." I'm
cry,
like, "Oh,
boo.
oof." Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. That feels kind of dirty to me. When your own friend like is basically telling you like, "Hey, you're being too much of a bitch." Like you're kind of like it's House of Villains, not House of like bitches. I don't know.
Well,
Like,
look, I'll say this. If you want to see Victoria get kind of viral, please go follow Victoria on Twitter. She is a riot. You might not like it, you might love it, you might hate it, but it's definitely something to watch. I will say that. One of her
will it
tweets
be
that she
different on
had,
Blue Sky if Victoria comes to Blue Sky.
I don't know if they'll let her on Blue Sky. It's a very happy, fun place. Victoria tweeted, if you were traveling with a partner, Jenny, I guess I'll ask this question for you.
Okay.
If you were traveling with a partner but had to fly economy with them or sit by yourself in first class, what would you choose? And I'm like, what? Why? What is happening? Because Victoria's like, would you leave your partner behind to go sit
Yeah.
in first class? I don't think this is a real choice. Don't you want to stay with your person? And apparently, Victoria agrees. She said, "I'd rather fly an economy with someone I love."
Yeah.
Um, but
Wow.
I'm trying to figure out why this question is coming up because what's going on in Victoria's life? Who are these people she's surrounding herself by?
Did
Yeah,
someone ditch her for an economy? Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
don't
feel
think anybody
like
ditched her. I think this might be her, like maybe speaking on some other people's business.
oh, maybe Larsa told a story about
Wouldn't
how
that be funny?
yeah, she left Marcus and Coach or
Oh,
something.
my favorite Victoria tweet was like, "Sometimes when you're young and beautiful, older women can be mean and jealous." Personally, I love to see girls younger than me thrive and enjoy life, but that's just me. So there's some shots being thrown both
Okay.
ways. Okay, so
No
if you
love
feel like,
lost. I don't think they made
yeah,
up.
if you feel like Victoria's getting dunked on a little too much, she's getting her shots in on Twitter.
She's
I'll
getting
say
her
that.
licks in
Yeah,
on the Twitter app.
yeah,
Yeah, ultimately I said I'm calling my shot. I could be wrong. I really think that we're going to see I think that Victoria is going to win this war, whether it's through the redemption challenge or winning the vote against Larsa. I just feel like that's what's going to happen. I'm a New York type. I'm a psychic, I guess.
yeah.
And I will probably be wrong now that I've said it. But
You
we
were
will
just
have to
here. You were just
see.
having a key. You were having a good time. It was a joke.
That's it. Okay.
That's
I
it.
didn't mean I just like sometimes will tell people that like their partner's
Yeah.
cheating on them, but it was just fun.
Duh.
Just
Duh.
having a silly, goofy little moment.
Oh, Jenny, before we go, I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
a running gag on the show, but we have not yet acknowledged the the house voice, the
Oh,
voice
the
of House of Villains. Yeah.
Eva 2.0.
Yeah. This the running gag is that like the
No
house is
one knows who
like,
it is. Yeah.
hey, yeah, everybody's like, hey, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? This is clearly a different voice than last season. It's
It
Monica
is.
Garcia, yeah, from the Real Housewives, I believe Salt Lake City. And so Teresa,
So
them zooming
would
in on
she
Teresa.
know Teresa, and would she also know both of them, like Teresa and Larsa?
Teresa definitely knows who she is, and so I think
Yeah,
that's why
just
Monica's
doesn't
like,
recognize her
really?
voice.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's the running gag. I guess if we don't acknowledge it, if the show doesn't, if they don't want to acknowledge it in the house,
We
we don't
should
have to
acknowledge
acknowledge it.
it.
But I guess we
Yeah.
have to say it. Yeah, for sure. But that's it, Jenny.
Now, do you think that they'll eventually acknowledge, like in the finale or something? Do you think that like, or maybe if like Teresa goes, like Monica will be like, "Bitch, it's me."
It's me. It's
Hi.
me. Yeah.
I don't
Hi.
know.
Yeah. I don't know. I
'Cause
don't know. We shall see.
if they're including that, maybe they're just including that in the show as a gag, but I feel like, you know, it's become a running thing that I would like to see it like play out at some point where they find out.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, Cocky goes to Wes. You know, the fact that the one person who would have definitely put him up wins Supervillain of the Week, and he pulls this Hail Mary and it works. He doesn't even touch the hit list. It is masterful. We do have to give him some props for that. So well done, Wes. We'll see what happens next. We'll see if Wes gets what he wants out of this situation. And yeah, so we'll be back next week for episode 8, where we're gonna see who ultimately is our 4th villain leaving the House of Villains house. I think, Chappell, do we think that there will be no episode the week of Thanksgiving? Because I thought that was how it worked last year too. I don't know.
I do not remember it.
We'll figure that out. We'll let
fish.
you know next week if there's
Yeah.
gonna be a week off or not. I feel like I remember that maybe there was no episode the week of Thanksgiving last year. But in the meantime, Chappell, what else do you have going on?
Follow me on Blue Sky. Recap Kickback is on Blue Sky. So if you're on Blue Sky, follow Recap Kickback wherever you get your podcasts and stuff like that too. Make sure you subscribe to it wherever you get your podcast. Check out this week's podcast with me and Matt and Mari. Matt Scott joined us to talk about Beauty in Black. It's cracked. That podcast should be up today. If not, it'll be up soon. So check it out on our YouTube page as well, youtube.com/@recapkickback. G and I are still doing Abbott Elementary coverage over there as well. And we got some more surprises coming your way. So make sure you check it out and subscribe and all that good stuff. And then if you want to follow it on Twitter as well, you can. But you know, who's on Twitter?
Yeah, the exodus is happening over to the Blue Sky. I am also on Blue Sky. It feels cute and sweet and light and fun right now, which I think all of us need. So you can follow me over there at Jenny Autumn. The username thing needs some help. The
it's too long. I'm not doing it. No.
It's the important part is the first part, okay? At Jenny Autumn. Follow Chappell at Recap Kickback and make sure you're subscribed to us here, weknowvillains.com. If you watch this on YouTube, give us some love, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode. I hope you're having as much fun watching it as we are. Thank you for joining us for all of this recap love, and we'll be back next week for episode 7. And until then, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Peace.